Hello everyone, welcome back to your second lesson at Crescendo Music Academy. Today we're going to be going over finding middle C position, and learning songs with the middle C and the middle C position, as well as starting off on learning what notes are and what beats are. So let's get started. So the first thing I wanted to go over was something we went over last lesson, which was finding middle C. So middle C is the most middle C on the piano. So last week, if you remember, we learned that C is in this little box on the very left, in this little right below the two black keys. So on our piano here, C is right here, and this is also where my middle C is. If I go and look back at all the notes on the piano and find the most middle C, this is middle C. So knowing where middle C is and remembering where it's at is super important. So like I said last week, finding like a certain symbol above, like on your keyboard or your piano, that shows something like this. Like I have this little box here that shows middle C is right in this box. And if I remember where this is, I can remember what middle C is. So once you find where middle C is, we're going to start learning what we call middle C position. So this is just a position to have your fingers in for just learning the piano at first. So middle C position is where your number one fingers are, which is your thumbs. They're going to both be on middle C. So it's going to be a little crowded here for a little bit while we're learning. But your number one fingers are going to be on middle C. Number two is on D and B, and it just goes up from there. So your pinky on the right hand should be on G, and your pinky on the left hand should be on F. And they all should meet on middle C with your thumbs. So this is middle C position, very important to remember. Some key notes on your hand positions is keeping your wrists up. So having your wrists farther up rather than slouching them and having your hands kind of like flat on the keyboard is not optimal. Having your wrists up and ready to play is always the best way. Using mainly your fingertips to play is always best as well. And keeping them here for when you learn songs at the beginning is always best. That way you're not trying to remember which finger was what, which note was what. Having them stay in that spot on each note is optimal for learning at first. That way you can remember which note is which as we start learning songs. So let's actually learn our first song. So everyone knows Mary Had a Little Lamb. It's a very, very simple song to learn to start learning and also songs in general. So Mary Had a Little Lamb is mainly with your right hand. You start on the number 3, which is E. So it goes 3, and then number 2, 2, number 1, 1, and then back to number 2, and then number 3, 3 times, so 1, 2, 3, and then 2, 1, 2, 3, 3 times, and then the number 3 again, and then we're going to jump all the way up to number 5 with our pinky, 5, 5, and then back down to 3, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 2, 2, 3, 2, 1. So this is kind of how our songs are going to be structured for a little while, to get used to the finger numbers and just learning how to move your fingers up and down on the keys. So play that song for a little bit. You can feel free to pause the video or play this another time. I will also link a little PDF with the song on here in the version of finger numbers and the right and left hand. So practice that when you can. It's very helpful for when you're learning at first. Another song you can try playing, which is super easy, and I love giving this to kids during Christmas, is Jingle Bells. So Jingle Bells is also in middle C position, and it is 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 3, 3, 3, 3, 5, 5, 4, 2, 1. I'll also link that below just in case you'd like to practice that as well. Feel free to use that as a practice aid. So both of these songs should help you get started on learning to play the piano and just learning where to place your fingers, what to play, and get you started on playing more difficult songs, more fun songs. So let's learn beats. So beats are really important to music in general. They help make the song. Without beats, the song would sound pretty bland. So let me show you what a note is first before we get into beats. So a note, we'll learn this on when we get into the grand staff, more so on how it relates to the keyboard, but this is a note. So we have the note head, which is this right here. So note head. Then we have the stem, like a flower stem. And this is what constitutes a note. So there's a lot of different notes, but this is a very familiar note that we all know and love. And this is just the basics of what it is. So keep that in mind, what a note is. It has a stem and has a note head. So this particular note that we just learned is called a quarter note. It has the note head that's all filled in, and it has a stem. And it's called a quarter note. So this is the most basic beat. It's a beat of 1. So it gets 1 beat in a 4/4 measure, 4/4 key signature. So knowing this, so what I like to tell my younger students, because knowing a beat is a little difficult to understand, but what it is in a sense like you're playing a note for 1 second is what I like to say. 1 beat or 1 second. So in the case of like Mary Had a Little Lamb, oh, my thing changed here. So those would all be quarter notes. If we were to write them all out, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, that would be all quarter notes. They're basically 1 second long. Holding them down is 1 second. So 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 3. Hopefully that makes sense. Well, it'll start to make sense as we move along. So that is the first beat. The second beat we will go over today is called a half note. So this one definitely looks different than the first. This one is not filled in. It's got like a little hole. And like I said, it's called a half note. So half note gets 2 beats. So 2 beats is kind of like 2 seconds in speaking of like a 4/4 time signature, like in a 4/4 measure. So a half note would sound like this. If we were to play Mary Had a Little Lamb with all half notes, it would be Mary. Well, I wouldn't sing it, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So basically you're holding the note just a little bit longer than a quarter note. It's 2 seconds longer than a quarter note. So the next note I want to learn, the next beat is, and this will be the last one for today, is called a whole note. So a whole note has no stem at all, and it looks like a half note, but it's not. It's just a plain old donut. I usually like to call it a donut for the young kids. So like I said, this is a whole note, and this one gets 4 beats. So you can imagine what this would sound like if I played all of Mary Had a Little Lamb with all whole notes. It would be very long. So a whole note is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is in the count of a 4/4 time signature, but you'd hold it for 4 beats, or if you want to say 4 seconds. So this is the whole note, and keep these in mind. They're very important. Like I said, we learned the quarter note, half note, and whole note. So all these, I kind of like to explain them also in the term of like a pie. If I was to create a pie, see, this whole pie was, in a sense, what a whole note was. It kind of looks like a whole note. So say we cut this into 4s. because it's a whole note. It has 4 pieces, has 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whole note has 4 beats. A pie has 4 pieces. A quarter note only gets one part of that pie. It gets only 1 beat. The half note over here gets 2 parts of the pie because it's a half note. So it gets to take up all of this space right here, 2 pieces of the pie. But the whole note still gets all of it. Hopefully that kind of helps with an analogy. I like this one just because it helps me and my brain with a little bit of math on what beats are what. So these are your beats. That's all I had for y'all today. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Be back next time for lesson 3.